Is it really that hard to be nice? Hi friends, Daz here again. Hope you are well. Thanks for coming back. Again, it's been a ridiculously long time between videos. Apologies, I'm getting my shit together, I promise. If you're new here and don't know, my name's Daz, obviously, and I make kind of nearly sort of ish daily videos on mental health and personal development and everything in the middle of that, which is all the real weird crazy shit that goes on in my head, to hopefully to help you change your mind, change your life. So this is going to be a kind of off the cuff video really. I've planned it and I wanted to make it for a few days, but it's sort of not felt right to do. I want to do it and I have wanted to do it, but it's a tricky one, and it all comes from the unfortunate death recently of Caroline Flack. Now, if you don't know Caroline Flack, she's a UK TV presenter, personality, and unfortunately on Saturday she took her own life, and yeah, it was terrible news, and yeah, there's not really much more to kind of say to that, but it's the reason why that happened and what, you know, led up to that. And it was really fundamentally due to how she was being hounded and treated in the press and kind of bullying, essentially. So the whole point of this video is, you know, about being kind to each other. I've purposely not put her name in the title of the video or in keywords out of respect, basically. I don't want my video to be seen as jumping on the bandwagon of her name and the sensationalism around that. I just want to convey an honest, heartfelt message around the story, which hopefully I can do. Hopefully. Without going into all the details of her story, and I don't think this is the place to do that, she was essentially hounded by the press for a long period of time. Some things happened, and yeah, it was just sort of horrible bullying, effectively. And that obviously led up to the unfortunate situation on Saturday. I think the thing we can take from this, or thing we can realise, is that we all make mistakes. We all fuck up now and then. We all make all levels of mistakes. Some terrible mistakes, some not so terrible mistakes. But the point is that we all do it. Nobody is completely mistake-free in their life. And to sort of pick on somebody and to over-exaggerate and sensationalize someone else's mistakes or shortcomings is fucking terrible thing to do. Because, you know, why? If anything, you know, why? What's the point? What are you achieving by doing that? And there's been a lot of talk about, you know, it's the fault of the press and the fault of the TV show that she was on, etc, etc. But I think the real issue is fundamentally people, us, because we're the ones that buy the newspapers, we're the ones that watch the TV shows or read the magazines, and we're the ones that are consuming this sensationalism over someone else's personal life, basically. And I think that's fundamentally the problem, because whilst we're perhaps not directly to blame, we are fueling the fire of these stories and these things by consuming these newspapers and magazines and media. The thing sits with all of us is, why is someone else's misfortune or problems or personal life basically such a great interest? And I can get that to a degree. It's a natural sort of social thing to be interested in other people, particularly famous people or celebrities. That's sort of normal. We do like to sort of kind of pry into their lives. But when it comes down to other people's problems and other people's misfortunes and issues, to then go into it and sensationalize it is terrible, because I said ultimately we all have our own problems, we all have our own shit that's going on, and sometimes you don't realise or know what the other people are going through. It could be that they're seen as having this perfect life, and yet actually deep down they're really struggling, and then they make a mistake or there's some issue, we then jump on that issue, and that makes their life just unbearable. And this is exactly what happened to Caroline. And it's such a terrible thing, and it baffles me why people are so horrible to other people. It really does. I just don't understand the benefit. There is no benefit. So let me know in the comments, has something made you realise that perhaps you're going a little bit too far when looking at someone else's issues or talking about their problem. And if you are enjoying this video, hopefully, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and a like, and it's like a sort of a virtual Daz Hands hug, as maybe creepy as that is, but thank you if you do. So something that I think is very relevant in this point is it's actually more effort to be horrible than to be nice. And it baffles me to the end of the world how people go out of their way to be horrible to other people, because the amount of effort needed to be horrible is actually much more effort than to be nice. And yet there are people saying, oh, you know, I don't like that person, I hate that person, or whatever the situation is, and yet they're putting an extremely large amount of energy and effort in to making the point to say how they don't like someone or they don't agree with it, where really, as I mentioned in a previous video, that actually the opposite of love and liking and all that positive stuff is just pure indifference. It's not hate, it's just indifference, like no interest, nothing, just zero. So with that said, I'm also baffled about why there's a sort of a dislike button on certain social medias. It doesn't make any sense. You either like it or you're completely indifferent. To say that you don't like it, that you've gone out of your way to say you don't like it. If you don't like it, just don't bother. You're not being made to look at this social media post. Just ignore it. Problem solved. So the effort that people go to with this sort of vitriolic attitude towards people and this hate just seems ridiculous, because it's much easier to not do that. It's much easier to not hate and either like or love, or indifference, nothing at all. Life is much easier. And now something I always talk about is E plus R equals O, so event plus reaction equals outcome. And this is true. Events happen, we can't do much about that, and how you react will 100% dictate the outcome. But when, like the situation with Caroline, where there's been so much hate and so much sort of bullying, you know, virtual or otherwise, constantly, it's gonna have an effect. You know, it's gonna wear you down. It's gonna ultimately take toll on you, physically and mentally, probably more so mentally, and that can just drive you down. And it's sort of like almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you're getting this hate and this disdain and this focus on things that you may or may not have done wrong, but a mistake or whatever it may be, the more attention is on that, it makes you almost start to doubt yourself. Are they right? Maybe I don't know. And that again just goes into a downward spiral into, you know, a horrible dark place. And so many people have unfortunately gone down that downward spiral and, you know, ended their life. It's a terrible thing, and there's no need and there's no upside of that at all. I mean, if you are struggling with any kind of mental health issue or condition, that's hard enough to deal with, and you could be close to suicidal thoughts anyway, just dealing with that on a daily basis. But then having to deal with this kind of added layer of bullying and just negativity and hate and people just being horrible to you, again, it's just gonna just compound the whole thing, you know, potentially and unfortunately realistically push you over the edge. I mean, this is kind of I suppose quite a dark video, but it's, I suppose, almost like a plea to say just be nice to people. It's not that hard. As I said, it's harder to be horrible than it is to be nice. So even if it's just out of pure laziness, just be nice to people. It's much less effort to be nice than it is to be horrible. And if being nice to someone doesn't really sit well in the particular situation you're in, then just have indifference. Have no feeling, have nothing, rather than attack them with hate and just horrible comments and things like that. You know, there's no need to pick up on people's misfortunes or misgivings or mistakes. They're dealing with enough shit on their own. Often it's just rumours and shit like that, and then someone's going down this very dark path based on bullshit, basically, which is, you know, ridiculous. So just be nice to people, please. So I hope you've got some value from this video. Hopefully it's a little piece of me joining a bigger cause to, yeah, just be nice to people and just don't shit all over people, because there's no upside at all, really not. And just beg you to be nice to other people, and it will make your life much happier and much nicer. So I will say goodbye for now, and I'll see you guys next time. Remember, be nice.
Thanks again for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so down here, and check out my other video down here. Remember, live your best life. See you next time. Bye bye.